Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be following the same format as the video that I posted yesterday, which is to just kind of sit in front of the camera and talk about a topic. And today's topic is going to be along the lines of what is the purpose of awakening, or you could say enlightenment, or you could even say meditation. Like, why do people do this? Why do people spend their whole lives striving to reach enlightenment or striving to have an experience of awakening? Like, that's something that's very common in like spiritual circles. You have people over and over again meditating for long periods of time, waiting for that moment of like aha, like a enlightenment moment. And I want to answer like, why do people do that? What is the purpose? Like, why do we even need to awaken? If life is fine, what's the purpose? And the answer to that, I believe, is really well put by this quote from the man who leads these meditation classes I go to. He has a lot of experience with Zen and he teaches Zen meditation. And I'm going to pull up the quote here. I'm reading it right now because I tweeted it a couple months ago, so I'll put it up here. But he said, "Without recognition of the truth, the human life is a tragedy." And that was just so powerful when I heard that, because that really answers like why do we do this? Why do we spend time in meditation? There's a lot more to meditation than just trying to relax. That's definitely a nice benefit of it, but it's so much more than that. It's really awakening to the truth of who you really are. And the reason that this is so important is because it's true that the human life is a tragedy. Like, if you look at the way it's set up, we come on this earth, we spend X amount of years here. We don't know how we're going to die. We don't know when we're going to die, but we know we're going to die. We make close relationships with the people around us who we know are also going to die. There's aging, there's disease, there's sickness, there's death, and we can't avoid any of those things. So it's hard to look at this and not say that the human life is a tragedy. So how do we get around that? Like, how are we supposed to just live our whole lives knowing that these terrible things are going to happen to us and just kind of like experiencing that and really going through hard times over and over and over again? Well, the answer to that in the quote that I just read is that that is the reason for awakening. It's waking up to the truth of who you really are. And the truth is that we're not these physical bodies. We're not our names, we're not our personalities, we're not our emotions, we're not our thoughts. All of that stuff is part of this physical human experience, but it's not actually the truth of who we are, because the truth of who we are is this ever-present awareness. And that's why people meditate, because when you're in meditation, you can watch your thoughts go away, but there's still this presence there that can be aware of all of that happening, but isn't necessarily like thinking thoughts or having emotions, but it's still there. And that is the truth of who we are. And that, the teachings say, is what lives on after these physical bodies die. And that is the truth of who we are. So when you can really tune into that, it really brings you a lot of peace, because then you're not so affected by everything that happens in life, whether it's small annoyances throughout the day or whether it's the big anxiety-provoking existential questions or existential dread about like, wow, I'm getting older and older and I'm eventually going to die. But it's not actually you who's going to die. It's just this physical body that's going to die. So the life hack is really being able to tune into that ever-present awareness and realizing that that is actually who you are. And it's not easy to do. This is why it's important to meditate every day, because meditation is a tool to get you there, because it's you sitting still and trying to clear your mind of any thoughts so that you can tune into that ever-present awareness. And the more that you do that, the more easy it becomes to drop into that when you're going about your day, and when things happen to you, you don't get as affected by it because you just feel so grounded in who you actually are, not in seeing what's happening to this physical body. And that's really one way to look at it. It's really kind of watching your life like a movie that's happening to this person who you, in society, you identify with. Like, I say, I'm Natalie, I'm in this body, I was born with this identity, but it's all actually given to us. It's not actually who we are. So when bad things happen, you can also kind of look at it as like, that's not happening to me. That's just happening to like this person that I'm temporarily experiencing while I'm here on Earth. And I'll share a little story about this, or just like a little example of how this can be helpful in life on like a practical level. So I am someone who is a fearful flyer. I am very terrified of airplane turbulence. Like any kind of turbulence, if the plane starts shaking a little bit, I'm sitting there like doing Hail Marys, I'm like praying, I'm just like assuming it's gonna go down. It's really bad. Um, but once I really started tuning into this awareness inside of me, once I started using this as a tool, kind of like what my teacher said about, he was saying like, watch your life as if it's a movie happening. It's not necessarily things happening to you, it's you just like being this awareness, being literally being aware of things happening but not really feeling the emotions associated with that. So I was on a flight to Hawaii a couple months ago and the plane started shaking like crazy, and I thought we were going down. Like I was terrified. But then I practiced it. I like tuned into that and I was like, let's see what it's like if I just sit here and watch it all happening to this person who isn't actually me, just like this physical body that's experiencing this. And it brought me so much peace. I literally did not have fear on that flight while I was doing this. And I will not say it's easy to maintain, because then I had flights after that where that fear would come up again and I had to remind myself like, no, remember, you're just watching this like a movie. That's not actually you. Even if the plane did go down and I, God forbid, I actually died, it wouldn't actually be me. At least this is my belief, and I'm sharing this because it brings me a lot of peace, and I hope that by sharing it, it might be like an aha moment for you, maybe like it was for me. But yeah, even if my physical body died, I believe that there is still this awareness inside of us that passes on after we die, that kind of like disintegrates back into where it came from. And to me, that's like a really beautiful way of experiencing life, because you're going about life and yeah, good things happen and bad things happen and you do emotionally react to them, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's an innate thing that is important to have. Like it's important to feel fear and anger, and otherwise we'd be like jumping off bridges all the time and doing crazy things. Like we do need to have that, but it's not seeing that as your identity. It's really recognizing that you can notice when those emotions come up because you are more than that. Like there is this awareness behind everything that's happening that notices when you're angry or whatever. Like you might have experienced this. Just to give another example, like this morning I was walking the dogs on the street and a car just zoomed by us really fast. Like the dogs were on the leash, they were close to me, but the car, normally in that case, like based on where the dogs were, you would like slow down a little bit and maybe go around a little bit, but the car just zoomed past, and my instinctual reaction was just like, I just like gave them like a look and I just felt anger and I was like, what the heck? And it lasted for like a second, and then I just started laughing when I realized my reaction to it, because I was just like, that was a hilarious reaction. Like I looked at them as if I wanted them to like see me and see how angry I was at them. It's like when you get cut off in traffic, you know, like those things that happen throughout the day that make you just feel like anger, but it only lasts for like a second and then it's like, wait, that was funny. That was just like my reaction to it. But it's just recognizing that like, yeah, it is normal to feel all of these emotions. That's like part of being human. But when you can realize that you're actually a lot more than that, you're this ever present, I can't explain it any other way, but like ever present awareness. It's always there and it's always aware of everything happening. And that is actually who you are. Everything else is just, for lack of a better words, it's kind of an illusion. It's kind of just things happening in your life to this like physical body, but your awareness is just kind of here, kind of along for the ride, just experiencing it. So to me, this gives me a lot of peace, because when I think about, like I said, the big existential questions about like, I'm gonna one day get sick and age and eventually die. I'm gonna lose people close to me. It's gonna be so horrible. And, you know, we've all experienced tragedy in our lives already. And if you haven't, then that's great. But unfortunately, there's no escaping it. It's gonna happen eventually, because you really can't escape painful things happening, because that's just the way things are. But the more that you can kind of stay level, stay present with the awareness, and really identify with that as being who you are, then when things happen to you, the emotional reactions are just so much less. Like you don't feel like super low lows, and you can still feel like highs, but it's just from a different perspective. It's more from the perspective of like watching it happen to this person rather than like it happening to me. So that really is like the purpose that I believe is why people meditate, why people try to awaken or seek enlightenment or even like take drugs and stuff like that, because they want to experience who they really are, which is outside of this confined human existence. So yeah, like the quote says, without recognition of the truth, without recognizing the truth of who we actually are, the human life is a tragedy. However, to flip that, when we do recognize the truth of who we really are, human life is just this beautiful, flowy, temporary thing that we get to experience in this physical form. And then when it's over, we integrate back into wherever we came from. At least that's what I believe, and it brings me a lot of peace. So I hope that kind of answers the question of like, why do we awaken? What is the purpose of trying to awaken? What's the purpose of meditation and enlightenment? So I hope this resonated with you. If it did, or if it didn't, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always. And if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.